Watch a high-volume, quick-service restaurant during the lunch rush. On the left, a cashier processes an order with seamless, practiced efficiency. On the right, a customer stands at a kiosk, hands hovering, eyes darting. Self-service technology was deployed to accelerate throughput, yet data consistently shows that during peak hours, kiosk orders often take 30 to 60 seconds longer to complete than an equivalent transaction at the counter. You can see this delay physically manifesting on the floor. Customers hesitate. They tap a screen, wait, scan the interface to find the back button, and shift their posture just to navigate a menu. A 5-second pause to locate a checkout button seems trivial in isolation, but when you multiply those hesitations across hundreds of transactions during a 2-hour lunch rush, the line backs up to the door. This friction is rarely a result of user tech illiteracy. It is an operational bottleneck engineered directly into the system by poor interface design. The most severe consequence of this friction is a phenomenon called mid-flow abandonment. This occurs when a user navigates through several screens, becomes overwhelmed by the interface, and simply walks away in frustration before paying. Back-office systems track completed sales and voided transactions at the register. They do not register a customer who built a $15 cart on a kiosk and walked out the door. Every time a user is forced to actively search for their next step, the system imposes a cognitive tax. It demands mental energy to parse cluttered layouts rather than focusing on food selection. Forcing users to visually hunt for buttons exhausts their patience. During high-volume periods, this invisible frustration directly translates to walkouts and untracked revenue loss. In interface design, Hick's law states that the time it takes to make a decision increases exponentially with the number and complexity of choices presented. For operators, this is a literal throughput metric. Look at this simulated interface. It presents promotional banners, category tabs, featured items, and a persistent order summary all at once. Every new visual element increases the time required for the user to process the screen. When the user is ready to pay, their eyes have to scan through the promotions and sidebars just to locate the checkout button. Those milliseconds of visual searching accumulate into absolute delay. If a cluttered interface adds 30 seconds of cognitive friction to a single order and a location processes 500 covers a day, that single interface flaw burns through over 4 hours of total throughput time daily. That is half a standard labor shift entirely consumed by customers staring at a screen trying to figure out what to do next. The strategy of surfacing every possible menu item and promotion on a single screen directly throttles the speed of service. This diagram traces human eye movement on a digital screen. Extensive eye tracking research shows users naturally read in an F-shaped pattern. They scan horizontally across the top, move down the left side, and scan horizontally again. Notice the areas lacking heat signatures. When operators place critical interaction buttons like Next or Cart in these dark zones, they are actively fighting the user's natural instincts. It requires conscious effort for a customer to break this ingrained reading habit, stop their visual momentum, and search the bottom right corner for a hidden navigation control. This friction multiplies when structural layouts change between menu categories. If burgers are in a grid, but sides are a scrolling vertical list, the user must build a new mental model for every screen. Consider a cart icon that shifts from the top right to the bottom center, depending on the menu page. The user's visual anchor point disappears exactly when they need it. Breaking the user's visual rhythm forces them to stop interacting and start searching. It acts as a physical speed bump in the middle of the transaction. The physical interaction with the screen is governed by Fitz's law. This principle states that the time required to acquire a target is a function of the distance to that target and its size. The quick service industry relies heavily on interrupting the user's core transaction with multiple pop-up screens asking to supersize a meal or add a dessert. To force conversions, these pop-ups often utilize asymmetrical buttons. They present a massive, colorful area to accept the upsell, while reducing the decline option to tiny, low-contrast text on the opposite side of the screen. Applying Fitz's law here reveals the mechanics of this stall. The customer must physically reposition their hand across the entire display and execute a precision tap just to decline the offer. When this happens multiple times per order, customers experience pop-up fatigue. By the time they reach checkout, they have made over a dozen micro-decisions and simply start tapping to dismiss anything that appears. Manipulating the interface to stall the customer does not reliably increase the average order value. It trains users to blindly reject suggestions and drastically inflates order time. The operational countermeasure is a linear flow. This is a predictable sequence that moves from category selection to item choice, through to customization, and straight to payment. A strict linear layout requires the interface to present exactly one primary decision per screen, isolating the customer's focus. This structure relies on persistent navigation. Notice how the critical anchor points remain perfectly static. As the central content changes, the user never has to relearn where to tap to go back or review their order. Customization is handled through simple toggle additions. The customer adjusts their ingredients without triggering a new screen layout or obscuring the base item they are building. Because the interface is consistent, the user doesn't have to actively think about the machine. They process the information effortlessly, completely bypassing the cognitive tax of a scattered layout. By keeping elements in a predictable sequence, visual hunting is replaced by rapid, unconscious muscle memory. The difference between approaches is visible in physical movement. One requires hesitation and precise targeting. The other enables confident, one-handed operation. Across a multi-unit enterprise, processing tens of thousands of orders a day, the difference of 30 seconds per transaction dictates whether a location clears its lunch line or loses its customers to a competitor. You cannot diagnose interface friction by looking at a weekly POS report. Those spreadsheets will not show you the customers who gave up halfway through. To understand the operational reality, you have to audit the hardware yourself. Walk the floor, stand at the kiosk, and navigate an order from start to finish exactly as a first-time customer would. Look for the specific structural failures: navigation buttons that shift locations, screens packed with competing text, and excessive pop-ups demanding unnecessary decisions. Fix the interface flow. Eliminate the cognitive tax. That is how you reclaim your peak hour throughput.